Hola estudiantes, ¿cómo están? Hoy es viernes, el 31 de mayo, y están terminando la lección 2 sobre las diversiones. Y les recuerdo que siempre es importante considerar atando cabos. So remember atando cabos, this little self-check, prueba de práctica, gives you an idea of the areas in which you need to work a little bit harder. So it's a little bit different from the other activities in that you don't have multiple attempts, you only have one shot because it's trying to be like a quiz, right? Though it does count just as an activity. So this is good preparation for your actual exam, which is due by midnight tomorrow, Saturday. So as always, you have vocab, and you want to choose the one that doesn't belong. So if you have disfrutar, divertirse, aburrirse, entretenerse, obviamente la palabra que no va es aburrirse. So this is the odd man out. That's the one that doesn't go with the other ones that obviously all have to do with having a good time, but boring, to become bored, no, that's the one that's not right. So you have these vocabulary activities, and these are close to what you'll have on the actual exam. And then you get down to the grammar. So this is really good practice for the exam. Here they're saying, reescribe las oraciones sustituyendo los objetos con pronombres de complemento directo. Sigue el modelo. Follow the model. So you want to rewrite this sentence 2 times, give 2 different versions, and you want to include the direct object pronoun, right? The pronoun for the direct object. So you don't have to worry about indirects here. These all contain direct complements, and you just have to come up with the appropriate pronoun, which of course has to agree in gender and number with the noun that it substitutes. So Juan va a conseguir los boletos. So he's going to get the tickets. Los boletos, of course, is masculine and it's plural. So the pronoun that you'd use to substitute it would simply be los. And that's what we have here. Juan los va a conseguir, or Juan va a conseguirlos. You have 2 versions because notice how here you have an infinitive, and you can always plug your direct object pronoun onto the end of an infinitive, or you can always put it before the conjugated verb. Va conseguir, va is the conjugated verb here, and so it's always safe to put it there, but they want you to come up with both versions. Let's try one. So they give us Ana va a alquilar las películas. So we're substituting las películas with the appropriate direct object pronoun, which in this case would be las, because las películas is plural as well as feminine. And again, there are 2 ways to go. You can always put the las before the conjugated verb, but they want you to give another version, and they want you to plug it onto the end. So you could say, Ana las va a alquilar, or Ana va a alquilarlas. All right, so 2 ways to go. And down here, we have dobles objetos. Selecciona la oración que reemplaza correctamente los 2 pronombres de complemento directo e indirecto. So they give you a starter sentence, and they want you to come up with the indirect and direct object pronouns that substitute the 2 complements. Right? So Juan le da los boletos a María. So John gives the tickets to María. So a María, that's the indirect, of course. And notice how le corresponds to a María. It's a little redundant, but that's okay. That's just giving us the heads up here that there's an indirect complement coming down the pike. And we do, in fact, in the form of a María. So don't worry about the redundancy. A lot of redundancy built into language in general. But the point is here, you now need to come up with an indirect object pronoun that substitutes for María, and that would be le, and then one that substitutes for los boletos, which would be los. But you already know that you can't have Juan le los da, because le becomes se before another pronoun that starts with an L. So Juan se los da, it's really an underlying le, but that can't appear on the surface, so le becomes se, and that's why we're saying Juan se los da. Let's try one. Daniel le presta los videojuegos a Andrés. The nice thing here is they give you a drop down, so you can just choose from the possibilities. You can throw out the ones that are obviously not right. And Daniel le presta los videojuegos a Andrés. You simply come up with Daniel se los presta. So there you have a le that refers to Andrés that goes to se, because now you're also using los to stand in for los videojuegos. And again, you can't say Daniel le los presta, because that first le turns into a se. So we wind up with Daniel se los presta. And completar. Here, completa cada oración con la forma correcta del verbo entre paréntesis. So these are verbs that work like gustar. And remember, it's a different path that Spanish uses to get you to the idea of I like coffee. You don't say I like coffee with a transitive verb like you do in English. You say me gusta el café. Gustar is working as an intransitive verb, and it's really the coffee that's the subject that's pleasing to somebody. This is a major thing that Spanish has. French has it as well. And so this is what you're dealing with. And most of the time, it's going to be like gusta for singular and gustan for plural. You can get other situations, but normally it's going to be third person singular or third person plural. So armed with that information, let's see what we have. A Lola lee los conciertos de ese grupo musical. So we're talking about los conciertos de ese grupo musical. We're talking about los conciertos, singular or plural. Obviously it's plural. So you would say, a Lola le fascinan. Puedo escribir. Le fascinan los conciertos de ese grupo musical. And in effect, you're saying that group's musical concerts, plural, are fascinating to Lola. So we can try another one. Here we have a Julián le, and they give you the verb molestar, que cancelan los espectáculos. So don't get faked out. You might think, oh, los espectáculos, that's plural. So I need to say, a Julián le molestan. But no, you'd be wrong, because here it's the idea that they're going to be canceling the shows. So she doesn't like the fact that they're canceling the shows. So that whole idea, they're canceling the shows, is seen as one entity. It's seen as a noun phrase and therefore singular. So you would say, a Julián le molesta que cancelen los espectáculos. Again, don't get faked out. It's the idea. The fact that they're canceling the shows is what is troubling to her. Let's try another one. Let's go with number 5. So, me interesar la historia de sobre de teatro. So, la historia de sobre, la historia, the history of that particular play, it would just be singular. So you'd say, me interesa la historia de sobre de teatro. And because la historia de sobre teatro is singular, therefore interesa takes the singular form. So in 8, we've got reflexive verbs, and they say, sigue el modelo. So it's a little conversation between two people. Julio says, ¿a qué hora te acuestas tú los sábados? What time do you go to bed on Saturday? And Antonio comes back and he says, los sábados me acuesto a medianoche. Saturdays, I go to bed at midnight. So that's what you're dealing with here. Let's try a couple. So your verb is levantarse. Carolina asks, ¿a qué hora te levantas tú los lunes? Te levantas, the reflexive form of levantar, which is levantarse. You have to take into account the reflexive pronoun. ¿A qué hora te levantas tú los lunes? And then Andrea simply comes back and she says, los lunes yo me levanto a las 7 de la mañana. So on Mondays, I get up at 7. So that's what you're dealing with in a situation like 8. So let's go back, and again, I'm just going to pop over to the assessment. And remember, you got to take this by tomorrow, Saturday, midnight, which is the 1st of June. And it looks like it's good to go. It's available, and you've got a full hour to take it. Just make sure that you're in a good spot, no one's bothering you, you're studied up, and give yourself the full hour. Typically, students need about 20 minutes, but it's always a good idea to have more time than not enough time. So, suerte con todo. Los voy a dejar por ahora. Si necesitan algo, se ponen en contacto conmigo. Si no, feliz fin de semana, feliz examen, feliz estudio, y nos vemos muy pronto. Hasta luego.